Okay, so we've seen 200 breached for the first time in this year's IPL. It shouldn't come as a surprise when you've got Josh Butler firing, Sanju Samson giving him good support, and even Yashasvi Jaiswal among the runs. It's the Rajasthan Royals that have done that. But there were a Rajasthan Royals side at one stage who had 122 at the halfway mark, 43 of the last 5. So would you be happy that it's only 203 for the Sunrisers Hyderabad? These are the questions we shall ask of Deep Dasgupta and Tom Moody on ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. 203 you tend to think is a good score, but if you were welcoming the Sunrisers team back right now, what's the first thought in your mind? What are you sharing with them on the score?
I think they've come back well, and I think you need to focus on the positives, particularly when you've got to go into the second half of the game with bat in hand. There's no point dwelling on what they could have done better, but the game did get away from them in the first half, but I thought they clawed it back nicely, and I think they need to just concentrate on the fact that they have had a good finish and they've kept them from a potential 220 chase to a 200 chase, which is gettable. It's a good surface, quick outfield.
It seemed a good surface for 3 batters, and then after that, everyone seemed to just struggle a bit. How do you explain that momentum break?
True, I mean, a couple of things, a couple of reasons, I guess. One could be, the fact that the ball got softer, maybe making it that much more difficult, so that could be a possibility. The other thing is obviously you lose momentum. You lose momentum when you lose wickets. That could be the other thing. And obviously the fact that they bowled well, you've got to accept the last few overs, Natarajan, Farooqi, they were really, really good. They went for plenty in the first spell, but then they came back really well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this pitch is going to play in the second half, because I just got a feeling, apart from the good bowling part, I think the pitch got a little slower in the second half of that innings.
Do you take anything from how Adil Rashid bowled today? Because he did turn a few and beat the bat.
I thought he bowled really well under the circumstances. He certainly got the ball to turn, and it was interesting because he did bowl it quite slowly. Yeah. So, one of the advantages of bowling second is the bowling group can get some intel to what worked and what didn't work, what slower balls are working, what slower balls aren't working, what length that slower ball needs to be, all those fine little subtleties that are really important when it comes to your approach with the ball. But yeah, I agree with you, Deep. I think that certainly the way that the pitch played and the ball responded on that surface in the second 10 overs of that first innings was certainly different. Whether that was they adjusted, the bowling group, and they took pace off the ball a little bit smarter than what they did in the first 10 overs or not, time will tell.
The wicket of Devdutt Padikkal fell in the 15th over, and we were surprised to see Riyan Parag walk in off Shimron Hetmyer. Deep thoughts?
I guess obviously they've invested so much in Riyan Parag, and he, to be fair, he's had a good domestic season as well. So maybe they're backing him further, because Sangha was with us a while ago for that Sri Lanka series, and he's got so much really good things to say about Riyan Parag. So he really trusts Riyan Parag to come good this season. So maybe it's coming from that place. But to be honest, if you have someone like Shimron Hetmyer, that kind of platform, last 5 overs, with the fact that there'll be left-armers bowling at you, you would, at least I would want a left-hander out there. That's how I see it.
I'd like you to go into both the pros and the cons for why such a decision was taken. You think it's only a 2-over phase, because Hetmyer's eventually come in on the first ball of the 17th over. The time that Parag's there, it just feel like the momentum changes. What's the good reason to say, hang on Shimron, Riyan, you're going to go in before him? And what's the bad reason?
There's no reason for him to be going ahead, as simple as that. I thought that was a tactical error. You've got one of the best hitters in the game in Hetmyer, who's in form, who's been destructive for some time now. That's what he's employed to do as well. That's what he's paid to do, and that's what he's paid good money to do, because he does it well. And holding him back, for the life of me, I can't think of a reason why. Regardless of how good a domestic season Parag's had, that counts for nothing. You've got an international power hitter there that's box office. He needs to be out there.
For what it's worth, it also means Jason Holder gets pushed down further. But yeah, Hetmyer is your big finisher, and last 5 seemed like the stage was set for him. Let's get a quick word in on Fazlak Farooqi before we move on. Impact subs. You worked with him. He may not get a lot of games once maybe Anson's back or they have all their overseas available, but there's something about Farooqi in where he bowled that last over as well.
Well, I think we learned something today, is that certainly if Sunrisers are going to be effective at home, they need to bat well and at a good rate, because it looks like they're going to have a very good surface to bat on. The other thing that we've learnt is that they need to be spot on with their defensive skills. So what may have been in the long-term planning around Faruqi's role in that overseas balance, well, that may have changed today, because they might think he may have to be that fourth overseas pick, purely on the basis they need his 4 overs, because they need those defensive skills. He's an incredibly skillful bowler. I remember talking to Dale Steyn last year, just at net sessions, standing behind, discussing him as he's bowling, and Dale was absolutely spellbinded by his skill and his wrist position and what he can do. So, to me, I think he's put his hand up and says, well, thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for South Africa to have, a few of your players not available for this first game. This is my value.
And I'm thinking, Deep, that just one ball, that the fact that he got Jos Buttler when he did, and it seemed like some sort of effort ball, that's what you need, because you cannot imagine. It's almost scary to think what would have happened if Buttler would have batted on another 5 or 6 overs.
Absolutely. Listen, about Faruqi, I saw him in the Asia Cup and then the World Cup, and he's skillful. This is a day game, so we didn't see the ball swinging around, but I can assure you he has that ability to get the ball back into the right-hander as well. And the skill set that Mood's talking about, I mean, he's got slower, he's got a good cricketing IQ as well. If you see him kind of, I saw him, like I said, during the Asia Cup and all, he was absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, when Marco Jansen comes back, do you think they can play him as an impact player if required? I mean, no, that is an overseas, that doesn't work either. So that's going to be a good headache, you reckon, when all of them are available. I just think, I think that learning certainly what we've seen so far, he has shown that he is a valuable wicket taker up front, and also, has those defensive skills which may well be required. Natarajan did a good job as well. Yes. He came back after his first over, went for, I think it was about 14 or 15, his first over, came back really well, picked up 2 wickets, which we've come to get used to with Natarajan under pressure in the death overs, but he certainly showed that he's got those defensive skills. But the more of those type of bowlers you can have on good flat wickets, the better.
Yeah, you look at that scorecard and you think, oh, Natarajan looks like the standout bowler, 2 for 23. Why didn't he bowl his 4th? But is that also one of the challenges now, having so many specialist bowlers with the impact sub?
Well, I think that missing over was because his first over was so expensive. They always, he would have always been penciled in for 2 at the death. It's very, very rarely bowlers get penciled in for 3 at the end, because they get lined up. Batters get familiar with them. So that missing over was really because of that first over went pear-shaped.
So it could have gone 1 more after that, or maybe 1 in the middle, but that didn't happen. All right, fair enough. All right, before I move on, just a quick word on whether Fazlullah Farooqi can help his cause by a few more hours on the field, in the fielding rules. Can
you love fishing, don't you? You love fishing.
Putting it as well as I can. He took one of those Srishant catches, right? The short thumb catch, which went like that over here.
Yeah, well, that is, I suppose, in all seriousness, he's incredibly skillful.
Yes.
With the ball. Yes. But one area that lets him down is in the field, or 2 areas that let him down, in the field and with the bat. And we saw yesterday with Khalil the cost of that drop catch. And that's Khalil's very similar. Incredibly skillful bowler, but what lets him down a little bit is his skills in the field, and he contributes very little with the bat.
I mean, I guess we'll see more of this when we go on, but it was interesting that Khalil bowled the 19th yesterday and Sakaria the 20th. And they immediately subbed Khalil off, even for that 1 over to get the better fielder. 100%. So today you had Farooqi bowling the 20th, Natarajan the 90th. Maybe in future you'll be thinking, let's try and finish his 1 or 2 overs before, and let's get him out and get the other guy in. Anyway, it doesn't look like Farooqi is going to be subbed. I don't know what his batting's like, but it looks like they have few contenders there. Now let's get into impact subs chat. Let's start with Rajasthan Royals, because you got 200 on the board. That would have been a plan. If we get 200 plus, let's see what the surface is doing. And it didn't look like it did a lot, though there was still turn. So do you go with the pace option of either Sandeep Sharma and Navdeep Saini, or do you go with the spin option of Murugan Ashwin? Deep?
I'm more likely to go with Murugan Ashwin, even though I know they're a little light as far as seam bowling is concerned. But looking at the pitch and the fact that that might help actually. So it's a tricky one.
Yeah, they already have 2 spinners
Yeah, it's
in
a tricky
Ashwin and Chahal. Now, would you want to give yourself 12 overs of potentially, penetrative spin, or do you need more seam bowling here, Tom?
I think initially their plan would have been, looking at the balance of the 11, would have been Sandeep Sharma to come in. But we didn't see the ball swing.
Yeah.
Bhuvi didn't swing the ball. So that plan may have changed because they may have thought, well, hang on a sec here, we want 2 overs from Sandeep in the power play. He's got one of the best power play records in IPL history, which tends to get forgotten. But they may have changed their mind and thought maybe we'll go with spin because it's taking a little bit of turn. But I think their first choice would have been Sandeep.
But having said that, I mean, if you look at those seamers and all, you don't see anyone who gives you that confidence, whether it's death overs or the first 6. So they don't have anyone in the ranks who would be like, earmarked for
could also go for plenty.
Go for plenty. So I think if you have to back someone, I'd say maybe Murugan Ashwin looking at the pitch and the fact that it's a day game.
All right, I'm trying to get a peep on what the huddle looks like and who all are in it. But then anyone.
You know what I'm looking at?
I can see Navdeep Saini playing with the cricket ball.
Actually, yeah. So the other thing I'm seeing is if they're thinking of getting Murugan Ashwin in, then you've got to start with a spinner then. First 6 overs.
Give Ashwin some power play bowling.
Ashwin will power play
so
anyway,
I'm seeing whether he's got his helmet around him or not.
He in fact has gotten though, Tom, into, I think last year he didn't bowl as much in the power plays. We're used to him. See, he bowled a lot of overs in the middle. They gave Bolt and split it up with the rest. But I'd like to see Ashwin. Yeah, it'd be nice to see Ashwin bowl a few. What about Sunrisers? Samad, straightforward, or are you looking at?
To me, it's a no-brainer. If he's the one that comes in for Umran Malik, I would have thought.
And that is what the batting order will look like, Tom.
Or Farooqi.
Ken Abhishek.
Or Farooqi, because Umran can actually
a few.
Can slog a few. So maybe Farooqi's the one that comes out.
And Brook at 4, Phillips 5. That's what we're likely to see.
Yeah, look, I don't know exactly how they stack up, but I wouldn't be putting Brook too far down. He's a pretty special talent, so I think he's probably thinking in that first innings, oh, this is a nice place to come, Hyderabad. This wicket's nice.
we haven't made a mention of him, but he has such an impact every year as Rahul Tripathi, and he is their number 3, and almost again. Just goes under the radar, but big part of the Sunrisers plans.
Absolutely, because the thing with Rahul Tripathi is he's not going to get you 100 or 80 or something, but he's going to give you that 15 ball 20, 15 ball 25, and the impetus or momentum to the innings. That's what he does really well.
15 ball 40 is what he usually ends up giving. 15 ball 20 you might end up getting.
Sorry. I meant to say 30, 15 ball.
20. Mayank Agarwal. At the top of the order, big new start for him, new franchise, not captain anymore. He's got to get some runs today.
Look, he's a fine player. He obviously lost his way last year. He's given responsibility. It didn't sit well with him. He's also at a franchise where it has been challenging, that leadership role. We've seen a lot of turnover of coaches, a lot of turnover of captains and a lot of turnover of players. And he's just another victim of that. So I think he'll enjoy the fact, a bit like Harry Brook, he would have watched the way that the pitch was playing and think, oh, okay, this is a good move. I'm quite happy I've come to Hyderabad. He's a good player, so he'll have a good season.
And it looks like that Sunrisers took a conscious call that we won't burden him with captaincy. We'll just let him bat, because the Indian captain usually is the smarter way to go. Probably a good thing, or almost puts more pressure on him to now fire as a batter?
No, I think it's obviously he's going to be nervous after last season. There's no two ways about it. But I think it seems like a good group of players there in SRH and a good group of coaches, should I say?
Yeah.
New coaches.
A far better group.
No, but having said that, but to be honest, I think first innings. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be extremely nervous the first game coming back and playing for SRH. But let's not forget, he's had a fabulous domestic season, right? Mayank's had a fabulous domestic season. He's back in the reckoning for the Indian side as well. So I'm sure he's going to carry forward that form.
Got to love it, because Trent Bolt still got 2 slips. And, he still wants to play a different game here. So T20 specialist Trent Bolt back in action for the Royals should make for a fun game if they get anywhere close to this 204. So let's get predictions from Tom Moody and Deep Dasgupta. Tom.
I think, as I said right at the start, prediction-wise, I think Rajasthan's winning this.
Easy, close?
I think it'll be close, because it's a good surface, and Sunrisers have got a good batting lineup.
Well, it's going to be called into action because Bolt has struck early.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Sunrisers. I beg your pardon, sorry. Rajasthan.
Oh, come on.
Sorry. No, you know what? Maybe that's back of my head. Maybe why not? Why not Sunrisers? Yeah, Harry Brooks. Let's see what he's all about.
Okay,
Yeah.
Harry Brooks.
Debut 100.
Debut 100. Why not?
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Deep. Thank you, Tom. We'll have a game to wrap up and a game to look forward to. Bangalore and Mumbai. So we see the final two teams in this opening long weekend of the IPL. So do join us then for analysis on ESPN Cricinfo T20 Timeout. And may I remind you, you don't need to. I'm sure you already have the ESPN Cricinfo mobile app. But if you don't, head over to the App Store and the Play Store and you've got the fastest live scores. That's how I knew Abhishek Sharma is already dismissed because I've got the ESPN Cricinfo app. We'll see you at the end of the game.